Hello, Mr. Dowse here, and this is lesson 5 on Python programming, and we're going to look at loops. Now I'm going to break this video down into 3 parts to try and make it a little bit shorter and easier to digest. And the first part is going to be recapping on the things that we've learned in the previous lessons. Now if you haven't heard me talk about variables and inputs and outputs, storing variables, if statements, operators and things like that, then I very much suggest you watch this video to gain an understanding, because you will need to know that. If you've already watched a video on me talk about those things and you understand it, well then you can jump in to lesson 2, where we'll talk about new key terms for this week's lesson. Okay, so without further ado, let's have a look at slide 1, which is our lesson objectives. As before, we're going to look at basic syntax. We're going to create, edit, and debug and run our programs, and we're going to show some enthusiasm regarding Python programming. Okay, we're starting to get good at it now, and we should be enjoying it. So the first thing that we're going to recap on is data types. And there are 5 main data types, or types of variable, which are listed here. But let's go on a slide first of all and discuss what a variable is. Well, a variable is simply a storage space in memory. I can declare a variable with a name. So here I've got a variable called myvar, and in myvar, if you like, we're going to call the box myvar. That's what we've named this box. I'm going to put something in it, and in this particular box, in this box called myvar, I'm going to store the string stormy. So that stormy is going to go in the box. I'm going to take that box up, and then I can come and get out of the box the word stormy whenever I need it in the future by referencing it by name, and the name is myvar. So let's go back to our different data types. Obviously we've just looked at what we would have as a string, and that's one of our data types, but there's also integers, so they're whole numbers, for example 1, 2, 3. We've got floats, okay, hence the icon of a boat, and that's anything with a decimal number. So we've got some examples here of 1.1 or 12.345. Anything with a decimal point is a float. Anything that's a whole number is an integer. Strings, well, that's anything in quotes. So when we did hello world is a string. But if we put a number into quotes, for example 23, well, that would also be considered a string as well. We can no longer do mathematical operations on it because it's in quotes. It is in fact a string. Boolean, well, that's a true or false variable. It's got 2 values. It can either be true or it can be false. Okay, so that's Boolean. And finally, we've got list. And a list is a variable that stores multiple different pieces of information. In this example here, I've got a list that stores integer values, and those integer values are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So think of list a bit like a shopping list. Okay, so more than one item on a single piece of paper, or more than one item stored in a single variable, or if you like, in a single box. Next thing, quick recap, housekeeping. I'd like you to keep a copy of all the Python code you write. Keep it in a folder called Computer Science on Google Drive for me. I'd like you to save it with the name of the task that you're doing. I want to see snips of the code that you've written, so I don't just want to see the outputs, I want to see the code that you've written as well. I'd also like you to snip some of your bugs. Okay, I'm not seeing many people snip bugs yet. Nobody writes code perfectly the first time. It takes a bit of time. I never write code perfectly. You always get a bug. And it would be nice to start to see some of you show that you had a bug and that you've clearly read the last line of it, which explains what's wrong, and you've corrected it and you've put it right. Okay, so I'd like to see your bugs, and I would also like to see you take some snips of the result from your code. And if your code has more than one possible output, then I'm going to need to see more than one test bed. So in the event that you have an if-else statement, you need to run it twice to show me what happened if you did one thing and what happened if you did the other. We'll have a quick recap on algorithms. An algorithm is a step-by-step series of instructions on how to perform a complex task. So in the last video I talked about imagining that I've never seen cake before, and if you think about that, it's probably true. That's why I'm so thin. Okay, and if, having never ever seen cake before, someone gave me a box of eggs, a bag of flour, a bag of sugar and a tub of butter and said, here, produce this, and displayed me a perfectly finished and produced cake, I would find that a very complex task. I wouldn't know what to do. But actually, I don't need to do that because somebody's already worked out the algorithm for creating a cake. They've called it a recipe, but it's basically an algorithm. It's a step-by-step series of instructions on how to complete a complex task. It tells me how many eggs, how much flour, how much butter, what to do, where to put it, what temperature to put the oven on, how long to leave it in there for, etc, etc, etc. And if I follow the algorithm closely enough at the end, I should have a pretty good cake. So an algorithm, a step-by-step series of instructions to perform a complex task. Next bit of a recap is on string concatenation. Concatenation means to join or glue two strings together. So if I had the string key, that's one string there, and I had the string board there, they're two different strings, and I concatenated them, glued them together, I can do this one of two ways. One of the ways is to use plus. So I've got key in quotes because it's a string, and I've got plus board in quotes, which is also a string, and that would equal keyboard. It would glue key to board and give me one word. Another way I can do the same thing is have key, comma, board. Again, two strings. Key is one string, board is another, and that would equal a single string again, but the difference this time is there'd be a space. So the comma adds a space when it glues the two strings together, whereas the plus doesn't. And that's something useful that you'll find that you need as we move on through this video. So variables and inputs. We've looked at variables and inputs. We know how to get information from a user. We say a variable equals input, and then we put a message on screen, for example, please enter your name, and we can then store that information that's given to us on screen, and we can store it in that variable for use later on. Okay, that then gives us the opportunity to do something with that variable, use it in an if statement, and customize our outputs based on a particular input. So storing variables is really, really key to how we use Python code. Quick recap on what's valid in terms of variables. Well, spaced out isn't. You can't have spaces because Python sees that's two separate commands or words or variable declarations. So we can't have spaces. We can't have a dash. And we can't have a dash because Python sees that as a takeaway, a mathematical sign. So it thinks, for example, that my must be a variable that's worth a value, let's say, for example, 6, and name must be a variable which has got a value, say, for example, 4, and it thinks you mean what is 6 take away 4. Okay, so we can't have a dash or a plus or a star or a divide sign in our variable names because Python sees them as mathematical symbols, not allowed. We can't start our variable names with a number. Okay, for the same reason as above, it thinks it's a mathematical equation. It thinks it's asking us to multiply 2 by something else. Okay, so it can't do that either. However, this is a perfectly acceptable variable. We can have all capital letters, we can have all lowercase letters, we can have a mixture of uppercase and lowercase letters. We can use underscores, that's perfectly acceptable because it's not a mathematical symbol. And we can even have numbers as long as they're not right at the start. So this variable here is completely acceptable and we can use that in our programs. Okay, conditional statements. So a conditional statement is something that we use in Python so that there's a path through our program and we don't all have to do the same thing all the time. Okay, if you think about the games you play, you don't have to do the same thing all the time, and if you choose to turn left instead of right, the game can cope with that. And our program needs to be the same. It doesn't want to be linear where you can only ever do one thing in the same way every time you run it. So think of a conditional statement like an if statement, and think about one that you see every day. So for example, you say to your mum, "Mum, can I go on my Xbox?" And she says, if you've done your computer science homework, well then you can go on your Xbox. But if you haven't done your computer science homework, well then you need to get your Python programming done because that's really, really important. And that's a conditional statement, that's an if statement. You ask a question, and if a certain condition is true, i.e. done homework is true, yes, you can play on your Xbox. If done homework equals false, well then no, you can't, and that takes a different path through that same program. So here are some conditional operators that we can use. We can use equal to. So for example, in one of our previous tasks we did if 23 is equal to 23. We can use less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, not equal to. All of those things can be done, okay, and we can compare to decide whether something is true or false. And then we can also join multiple if statements together using logical operators. So for example here we could use two if statements using if, and as an example, you say to your mum, can I go on my Xbox? And she says, if your bedroom is tidy and if you've done your computer science homework, you can go on your Xbox. Now it's even more difficult. You've got to pass 2 tests before you're allowed. So if your bedroom's tidy, but you haven't done your computer science homework, well then you can't go on your Xbox. If your computer science homework's done, but your bedroom's not tidy, you still can't go on your Xbox. So there's 2 things that you have to pass in order for that path through the program to take the true way through, and there's more than one way of going the false way. So we can join if statements using and or. So or's easier because we say if your bedroom's tidy or you've done your homework, you can go on your Xbox. If you've done one of those 2 tasks, you can. It doesn't matter which one. And if not. So if not school tomorrow, so it's not a school day tomorrow, then yes, you can go on your Xbox. So that's how we join multiple if statements together. Casting. This is something that people really struggled with last lesson in general. Okay, casting means to change one variable from one data type to another. And what we do the majority of the time at this stage is we convert strings into integers. Strings are in quotes, integers are whole numbers. So whenever we get an input from the command line, from the user, when we do an input, whatever they enter is always a string. So if you think about your previous program where we were asking them to enter a number between 1 and 100, that number that they entered was actually entered as a string. And if you look at this bit here, it talks about the number 23 in quotes as a string not being the same as 23 here where it's an integer. So in order to be able to say, does 23 equal 23, is it less than 23, is it greater than 23, etc., etc., using these mathematical operators, well, we have to make sure we're working with an integer, and that means casting the variable. Okay, and casting the variable means that we take a string and we turn it into an integer. Let me just have a quick look and see if I can find an example of that. Let's have a quick look. That's not what I meant to open. Just have to ignore that for a second. And here we go. Here I've said guess equals int, so I'm converting it into an integer. The input of please enter a number between 1 and 100, and I've got an open and a close bracket. There's another one that I want to show you which might be a little bit easier to understand, and here we've taken a number from the keyboard and that will be stored in num1 as a string. Whatever number we enter, it will be a string. Num2 have done the same thing, so we're asking for another number from the keyboard, but again it will be stored as a string. So here is a separate line of code. I've said, well, I don't want num1 to be a string, so now I want num1 to be equal to the integer of what it's currently stored, and that means we're casting it, we're changing it from a string and we're turning it back into an integer, and we do the same for num2. So that's what casting means. It means to change one variable type into another. So let's have a look. Casting means to change a variable type from one to another, e.g. a string to an int. When you get an input from the user, it's always entered as a string, even if the user types a number. This can be a problem if you're asked to use a number, for example, what is your age, because 23 is not the same as 23. The string needs to be cast or turned into an int. And here's an example of how we would do it. We would say age equals the input enter age, and if I entered in 23, it would be a string, and then I say age, that's my variable name, is now going to be equal to the int of age of itself, so I'm changing age from the string of 23 into the integer of 23. And that ends our recap on what we've done in lessons 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And what I'd like you to do now is have a look at the key terms for this week's lesson. Thanks for watching.